Don't talk over me, sir.
Well,
I let you respond.
You spoke over me,
No,
sir.
sir.
Yes, you did.
This committee is controlled under certain decorum. And, sir, I was responding to your comment.
That was Gilbert Republican Eddie Farnsworth pounding the gavel so hard, some in the room thought he might break it. Senator Farnsworth taking umbrage, as he often does, at the perceived rudeness of a speaker at a committee hearing last week on a controversial elections bill. The bill passed the committee, but another bill could be doomed. Joining us this morning with more on that hearing and an update on a package of bills that could affect your right to vote, Dustin Gardiner of the Arizona Republic. Welcome back to Square Off. So we've seen this kind of behavior from Eddie Farnsworth before. He's been at the Capitol quite a while. What was the trigger for that outburst?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't unusual for Eddie Farnsworth. With all these election bills that we're going to talk about, he has taken a lot of umbrage to assertions that it's going to decrease turnout or disenfranchise voters. So there was a man testifying there basically saying that this bill is going to discourage people from voting, and Farnsworth didn't like that suggestion and said basically there's not facts to back it up. Yeah.
Okay, and so let's talk about this bill a little bit. This would clean the permanent early voter list, clean it up, sort of make it a little less permanent?
Yeah, so basically this is State Representative Michelle Ugenti-Rita, excuse me, State Senator Michelle Ugenti-Rita. Her bill would make it so if someone doesn't vote in 2 consecutive election cycles, they would be removed from that permanent early voting list.
And so the question, again, Eddie Farnsworth was objecting to is that there's just no evidence that anybody's right to vote would somehow be impaired or lost?
Yeah, I mean, he's really just bristled at the suggestion that these things are going to decrease turnout.
Okay, now we want to jump ahead to the bill that's drawing the most controversy, her bill that would ban the dropping off of early ballots on Election Day. Where does that stand right now?
Yeah, so this would affect tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of Arizonans. More than 228,000 people dropped off their early ballots at the polls on Election Day last year. And this bill would essentially prohibit people from taking those ballots to the polls. They would have to either mail them in or go vote in person on Election Day. This drew a huge blowback, and now it looks like the bill is probably dead.
So that's interesting because you have a Senate that's divided 16-14.
17-13.
Sorry, 17-13. 17 Republicans, 13 Democrats.
Yeah.
So if the Republicans lose 2 votes and there's a tie, a bill doesn't pass.
Yes.
So which votes did they lose on this Ugenti-Rita bill?
So 2 more moderate Republicans, Heather Carter and Kate Brophy-McGee, they were the swing votes on this. There was a floor debate in the Senate on this earlier this week, and during that debate, Republicans actually passed the bill on a voice vote. And as that was going on, it became clear that some of the moderates, including Carter and Brophy-McGee, were not going to support this. So while it passed its first kind of hurdle, it's effectively dead because when this comes up for a roll call vote without those moderate Republicans, it's going nowhere.
And the roll call is the final vote. There are companion bills in the House as well.
Yes.
So who knows what might happen here. Could they be swing votes as well on the other bills, the other election bills?
Yeah, you know, so we were talking about that bill dealing with the early voter list and purging people who don't vote for 2 election cycles. You know, they haven't effectively come out on all of these bills at this point, but given where they were at on you know the bill dealing with dropping off early ballots, I think some of the moderates are skeptical of these efforts. There's a concern that we talked about disenfranchising voters. There's some concern about that. I think there's a concern that this might be seen as political. So I wouldn't be surprised if when these things get to the Senate floor, some of those moderates are a stumbling block.
And what's interesting about that permanent early voter list, cleansing the bills or purging the bills and making the list not so permanent, is 2 voting cycles is really just 2 years, right? 26. If you didn't vote in 2016 and 2018,
yeah,
as a permanent early voter in 2020, you wouldn't be on the list?
So if you missed the primary and the general election in both of those years, you wouldn't be on the list anymore. You'd have to ask to be added again. Yeah.
Interesting. Having covered voting for a long time here, I wonder about that. All right, Dustin Gardiner, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.